I would just ask that you maybe repeat the question that someone asked so that the camera can hear.
Gotcha. That's good.
Any questions from the audience?
Are you aware that Harbor Drive on the other end also goes onto the highway, so cars could circle all the way around?
Yeah, yeah,
You say they'll come in and go out.
yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, that's true. I mean, it does go the other end, but both ends not very far from the highway. So I guess what we were trying
Depends
to.
on where you live.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I guess what we were just trying to communicate that we're not, citing this place, citing this dispensary in the heart of the residential area, but off Harbor Drive, which is very close to 37, and we felt like from our perspective it was the best way to minimize any sort of traffic problems.
I'm wondering where you two fellas live.
I'm good.
Belmarin Keys. It's right at Brett.
And I live in, on Bret Hart Road, Centerville.
So you're not worried about consumption?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. Like I said, this is my county, this is my home.
Do you want it next door to your house?
Personally,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I've gone through a journey myself in learning more about this industry, about where it's going and who it's helping. And after spending time at their facility and walking through it, I can honestly tell you that it would not bother me. They've set up shop, was it on 6th Street?
San Pablo.
San Pablo. And just hearing from what that area used to look like and walking through that area now, it's completely clean and it's rather impressive. So honestly, I can honestly tell you that it would not bother me.
Doesn't San Rafael prohibit marijuana dispensaries in the city limits?
Yeah, I think maybe
It does.
Sabrina has a better answer for that, but I think it has oh, you could join her.
Yeah.
That's my daughter. I didn't think she was coming tonight.
Yeah. Currently, the only jurisdiction within the county that's talking about that's permitting dispensaries is the unincorporated area of the county.
Do we know why that is?
Well, the county supervisors decided it was time for them to pass an ordinance. The city council for all the other cities that are within the county have chosen not to do that yet. And they felt that there's so much, there's a lot of black market going on in the county and in the area because there's such a lack of regulated dispensary facilities and retail facilities that you have people growing pot in their homes, which is a huge fire hazard, a huge safety hazard. You have people getting deliveries from unknown drivers just driving around with loads of cash and loads of pot. It's really a security issue and an issue of regulating and sort of containing that market and ensuring that it's organized on a regulated above ground way. And so I think that's sort of, they've seen that that's really what happened when the Prop 215 passed 20 years ago and there weren't any kind of regulations, and the state very slowly took 20 years to really get into this whole regulation scheme, this very strict regulation scheme that was passed last year. But I believe their intention was to sort of prevent a lot of those safety hazards that have been seen from the black market that exists because of the lack of dispensaries.
Now that it will be legal, will the store be open to anybody and everybody who wants to buy pot?
No, absolutely not. And the county's even sent a letter out to everybody stating that what this ordinance allows for is only the laws that were created under Prop 215 and SB 420, which was prior to the state regulations, but the original medical marijuana laws. And so their structure is created solely around that. They have no intention to license any stores to serve adult use. It's just for medical patients who have a valid doctor's ID recommendation or their caregivers.
Would you sign a statement that you will never sell to the general public, only for medical marijuana purposes, period?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, thank you.
No. I mean, it's
We understand.
Yeah,
You don't have to expand.
No, I do want to clarify a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say that we wouldn't sign that, but I think it's important to note that anything that happens going forward with adult use marijuana will have the same community process, the same local control that medical marijuana has now.
Excuse me, Once the law passes, you will be able to sell to whomever you want to.
Not the case, no, not the case. No, it's
Once
okay,
the
I
law
mean,
passes and the regulations are approved by the county and by the state, you will be able to. There will be no restriction on you.
Well, if the county passed an ordinance.
Yeah, they would have to
that's-
pass
And the
Yeah.
county will do that. They are required to do that.
No,
No, they're not.
Not required. No,
Okay.
If the state
What?
legalized it, isn't that a very broad?
it's not, no, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act that just passed on, a Tuesday gives full control to local municipalities. So no matter whether it's legal, the only thing that's legal across the state is for an individual to possess 1 ounce of marijuana and to grow 6 plants in your home, indoors, not outdoors. Any kind of commercial activity is completely devolved to the local level. And so you first have to have a local ordinance that authorizes it, a local permit, and then if you have that, then you can take that to the state and get a state permit, and then you could conduct that kind of activity. But it's not automatic
There's
in
no
any way.
key switch.
Why would anybody go get a prescription and go to a medical marijuana place, a dispensary, when they can just go buy it from another place? Your place is gonna be obsolete as a medical facility,
Yeah.
dispensary, once anybody can go buy it anywhere.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I don't
So,
think,
so I just wonder,
yeah.
you know, unless you're planning on selling it
Unless they convert.
for recreational consumption,
Yeah.
you're obsolete,
Mhm.
in my view.
Right, I see what you're saying, yeah. I mean, there's tax benefits for medical marijuana patients under the new system, so you're excused from some of the same taxes that adult use customers pay. So I think that will motivate a lot of people to still stay in the medical marijuana system. We've seen that in Colorado, for instance, where they have roughly the same amount of medical marijuana patients that they have now as they used to have under the old system. But yeah, so I mean, I think what you're gonna see is that there's not gonna be adult use marijuana stores popping up everywhere, because there is the same regulated and process that we're going through with medical marijuana. Same thing will happen with adult use. You have to have all this local approval, and they're just not gonna mushroom overnight.
Can I step in, can I make a comment to what you just said? I spoke at the last meeting, my husband is a Vietnam vet, diagnosed PTSD. He also has a lot of mechanical issues, because he was a scholarship football player in college. And to your point, marijuana in and of itself has always been available on the street. It's really simple to find it, teenagers find it all the time, we're seeing that pretty regularly here in Marin and across the country. Where the medical marijuana is different is a lot of it is not marijuana. What they do is they take the different attributes out, an element called CBD, which is a huge pain reliever and is being used in cancer patients. And that little girl that moved to Colorado because of her seizure issues. So when you talk about it, and it would be lovely for those of you who have questions to actually go to Berkeley Patient Group. My husband is a patient of Berkeley Patient Group. And I need to tell you, my father was a judge, and I grew up anti-drug. And it took me a lot of understanding finally of the mechanics and the alchemy and the chemistry around the way marijuana is synthesized and used in medicine to get over that belief, that it's a dreadlocked, lying on the street with your little guitar. It's simply not that. So I think what you're gonna find, and what I have found at Berkeley Patient Group, is that the people that walk into Berkeley Patient Group look exactly like us. They look like us. They tend to be 50s, 60s. And most people who need or want marijuana recreationally will be getting it on the street, like they always have. And so I think that understanding, again, the alchemy and the chemistry of the different medical strains changes your idea of what it looks like. When you walk into these facilities, it is so beautiful and professional, and there's not bongs hanging, and there's not, weird music playing. It is strictly a pharmacy, and they They do an amazing job, and I don't think they've actually talked about the fact that they are not for profit. That's the way the state of California has determined that to be. They pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into their local charities. They support a school for the deaf. They do it, there's a Berkeley Patients Group Day in Berkeley. They've gotten letters from sheriffs, they've gotten letters from the Congress people. So I think that what I personally would think about is, how can potentially this be integrated into the community? And how can that charitable oversight, what your vision would be about what that would look like in this community, what it would look like. And I think that that's a dialogue that they would be very, very open to having with the Blackpoint folks, so, yeah.
We're talking about location,
Yeah,
not medicine.
yeah,
Where does your husband get his medication?
a Berkeley Patient Group.
I mean, what physical location? Is it
In
near
Berkeley.
homes? Is it in a residential area?
No, the Berkeley Patient Group is on San Pablo Avenue, and you know, this is, and I understand what you're saying, I genuinely,
Thank you.
I genuinely understand what you're saying.
do you live?
I live here in Nevada,
Where in Nevada?
out in, on the west side of Nevada,
Oh, so you're not a Blackpoint resident?
not a Blackpoint resident,
Thank you.
no.
Question. Okay, as the neighbors are concerned, because this is as you well know, that the housing in Marin is at a premium, okay? You're coming into a residential neighborhood and converting a home, which someone's living in now, into a commercial enterprise. I realize this is zoned village, commercial, residential, but our objection isn't against marijuana or a medical dispensary. That you're coming into a residential area, and not only are you taking this house, you've got two homes on either side of this house that were being lived in up to this point. So this is great that you live in Belmar Keys. We'd love to see this in the industrial park.
Yeah.
Or we'd love to see it in the commercial area, which is in downtown Nevada, which is plenty of empty storefronts. But we don't want it in our neighborhood, okay? My second question is, since Prop 64 went through, my understanding is that the delivery services for medical marijuana have to work through a fixed location, okay? So this is gonna mean, in all of Nevada, this is gonna be the only place to buy marijuana legally, okay, is at the dispensary, okay? So, if this was just for our local community, great. But my understanding is now, the way 64 reads, is that you're gonna have to get your marijuana, all the dispensary delivery services, which if you Google it, there's like 6, are all gonna need to go through a fixed location to be able to deliver marijuana. So now you've doubled down, now you've got legalized marijuana, you can have the only dispensary in Nevada, and it's San Rafael for that means, okay? And I would like to request that you come out here on a Friday evening and see what the traffic is like, okay? Besides for being a residential area, which isn't appropriate, is we already have a traffic issue with Highway 37. It's basically gridlocked, okay? And coming up here and telling us you're gonna have 12 patients an hour, you're not gonna spend millions of dollars on this facility and have 12 patients an hour. It'd be more like hundreds of patients an hour, considering the area around this that it's gonna feed off of. So, coming here and telling us stuff like the county put this zoning in because they wanted to control the location, is the state was gonna come down with their own regulations, and that's why the county implemented theirs, okay? It'd be better to come out with accurate information. And you probably know a lot more about Proposition 64 than any of us do. It's 60 pages long, okay? So coming here and telling us this is gonna be a medical marijuana facility, it's gonna be the only one in the area, yeah, it's a gold mine, okay? But this is our neighborhood, this is a residential neighborhood. You're taking houses and turning them into basically a cannabis Costco is what it's gonna end up at, okay? So that's our concern. This isn't anything about medical marijuana, there's plenty of places, and I think as the law evolves, cities like Nevada are gonna come around because they want the tax money. So this is all evolving right now, and it's gonna be years before this gets off the ground anyway, because even if you get your permit, you're gonna have to go through planning. So let's at least be honest about the motivations here, okay, so we can all understand what's gonna happen down the road as best as we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can I ask you a quick qualifier on the traffic concern? When you said the Friday night gridlock, is that particularly on Harbor Drive, people getting on or off 37, or what's the particular traffic problem?
Well,
you're
what
seeing?
happens is the traffic stops all the way back, past the Harbor Drive exit. So people come off and come to the store. Sometimes that store parking lot's full because of the gridlock. The Highway 37 basically shuts down every Friday night. The traffic is gridlocked at this point.
Not just Friday night, I live right across the street from the highway.
Last night
Every night,
was bad.
every night at 4 o'clock, it's almost backed up to
Or
101.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, it's backed up to 101.
Yeah.
Stopped,
You
dead
can't
stop.
even get into Blackpoint.
We're not even talking about moving, it's stopped
Mhm.
for hours.
And a lot of people come off on Harbor
Yes,
and try to bypass by coming back
Get
on.
back on.
get back on, so they
So
can.
then you can't get off the freeway, you can't turn from Atherton, you can't get to your homes. And I'd just like to make a comment,
Please.
that you said putting it on Harbor Drive is not in our community. That is our community. That is our community center. That is all we have. We don't have a park, we don't have a playground. You know, we have the store and the gazebo and a little area where we can gather, you know, and that's our community.
Yeah.
That is it.
Right. Yeah, I guess I didn't mean to indicate that it wasn't in the community, but in the more commercial part of the community, as opposed to being, you know, right in on a residential street. Obviously, there is residential on Harbor, I'm not
There is lots of
ignorant of that.
residential.
I'm not ignorant of that, but I mean, it is the commercial center of Blackpoint, if there is one, right? That's-
It's the village of Blackpoint,
Village.
and it's a tiny
Yeah.
it's a tiny little area, and it's way too much for us.
We also have the boaters that come in on the weekend, and they
Boaters.
kind of jam up things up here,
Uh-huh.
especially right in front of Rossi's.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, and they jam things up for two reasons. Number one, because when they stop at Rossi's, they're not just parking a vehicle, they're parking a vehicle and a boat.
Mhm.
And you also have large diesel trucks that park across the street from Rossi's because they're waiting to get into the Kelleher lumberyard. So you'll see those afternoons and nights.
And the
Overnight.
Penske trucks,
What's that?
and the Penske trucks,
Right, and
that can't get into
because
Arizona.
they can't get in the rental yard, so people
Mhm.
park Penske trucks out on the road. And, you know, I can't, you really need to understand, you really need to do some monitoring of that area every afternoon during the traffic hour, because between 3 and 7, it might be okay, it might be really horrendous. I mean, it can be really horrendous.
Yeah.
And people really jam up Harbor Drive trying to, you know, get 20 cars ahead by getting off the freeway and hopping right back on.
I know what you mean.
Additionally, the boat ramp, the area, you know, if you were going to require your patients to come and go just by the Blackpoint Atherton interchange, that would be one thing, but when they're gonna try to avoid all that mess every afternoon, and they're gonna try to go back around by the boat ramp, now they are driving through a residential neighborhood. And they're driving through a residential neighborhood with a very narrow road, and parking alongside that road that's pretty impacted.
You know, take off and go to Crest to try to get on Atherton because of the traffic.
Yeah, so you
You know
have,
that.
have
Google
people
sends
doing
it
a
everywhere.
lot of back roads trying to get away from the whole 37 traffic mess.
I see.
And so it's, you know, we do have concerns about your traffic getting into the neighborhoods. We don't believe that they're all gonna just do that, because if they're going anywhere but east on 37, which I don't know how many of your patients are gonna be heading east on 37,
They'll be doing
then
it
they're gonna
slowly.
be doing the same things we try to do to get away from the horrendous
As
traffic.
soon as they find out those shortcuts, that's when it'll start to happen. One or two people will find out the shortcut, go over Crest, get out to 101.
Have you folks driven over at Greenpoint, down to Atherton, school Atherton, Crestwood?
Would you say that those hours, those rush hour times, that people probably avoid the area, patients would?
I mean,
I
we
mean, I know personally,
Keep it first.
I have to, well, fair enough, but as someone who lives out in this area, I know what the traffic's like, I grew up there, I totally understand.
Well, this has all happened the past 2 years.
It's gotten awful.
2 years, it's getting, I live right across the street from it,
Yeah,
and it's horrendous.
yeah, it's brutal, trust me, you're preaching to the choir,
But
I'm
I
in it
think
every
we need
day.
to come out and address it come here at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And park and watch, and try to get down 37.
Yeah.
Go to Vallejo every day.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you think that's a good point to make?
I'm sorry,
Well,
back to the
I would
question.
say-
Well, I mean, I'd say that,
Tell me in your
yeah,
experience.
I mean, with our experience, what we find is our traffic is fairly evenly dispersed throughout the day. I mean, obviously at the very beginning of the day and the very end, a little lighter,
Yeah.
but, we see most of our traffic at the dispensary throughout the day. It's fairly evenly parsed out. We don't have a huge rush, but I can't say that we'll be devoid of traffic during rush hour. That would be.
What I asked Sean was, what does the traffic look like during rush hour and that time over where they're located? Because I avoid going to Berkeley Patients Group at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. But I understand, traffic is one thing that is definitely gonna be something.
But this is apples to oranges, you're on a state highway, 4 lanes wide, 2 lanes each direction, in a commercial district, in a city, I mean,
Lots of ways to go.
yeah.
Yeah, we also have the raceway that creates a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Every time there's a race, there's hundreds of thousands of people going in.
Yeah, that's a big event for sure.
Yes,
How
it
many,
is. And it happens,
how
I
often
mean-
are?
Well, you don't go anywhere near
I know,
during race weekend.
I have avoided it myself, but I forget how many times,
There's a lot of
are we
races,
talking?
motorcycles, cars.
yeah.
It's the big NASCAR ones, there's some
Yeah.
ones that draw
Mhm.
major crowds. A lot of them are amateur stuff that still draws a crowd, but it's smaller.
Yeah.
That alone makes it really tough for us that live here. And I have to go in and out of my residence at least 4 times a day. And to try and get back with a medical patient to take care of, I find it very hard.
Loud and clear, I completely understand, and
Are your hours still gonna be 9 to 9, 7 days a week?
I mean, I'd say that's pretty much our peak hours. It really depends on just how the business performs. Like any business, you wanna kind of find that sweet spot between not too much labor and wasting your time. If nobody's showing up, you don't wanna be there. But that's sort of what we lay out as our,
9 to 9, 7 days a week?
yeah, that's our kind of, our biggest reach. But obviously, smaller
That's what you're
locations, we started.
permitted to do, right?
Yeah, that would be, I mean, that's what we've
That's what was on your application.
applied for,
wasn't
right,
it?
yeah, applied for.
How did you come up with the 12 per hour number?
Well, it's a lot of looking at the population, looking at how many people are medical marijuana patients in similar markets, and sort of thinking about, how that relates to other markets, and then kind of extrapolating, and then evenly placing those visits across the day, because we have seen it be pretty consistent in our time. So, if you think that you're gonna have about 100, 125, 150 a day, and then you think about, was that over 10 or 12 hours, that's generally how we get there. But, it's not a precise science by any means, it's our best guess.
How many do you do in your Berkeley store?
At Berkeley store, most days, somewhere between 500 and 600, that's where we're at, but obviously, much different market, big
How
city,
many,
small city
how
stuff.
many facilities are there medical marijuana in Berkeley?
There are currently 3 operational, another 3 that are being built.
So there are 3, plus you get 500 a day just for yourself?
Yeah, we're certainly the biggest. There's the other ones aren't doing anywhere near that, but yeah, those are.
So there'd be one in all of North Marin and you only expect 12 an hour.
Yeah,
That'd be 144 a day then.
right, yeah,
Compared to the 500 or 600 that
Right.
you get.
What about the people coming from Vallejo?
There's dispensaries in Vallejo.
There's a dispensary in Vallejo?
Yeah.
yeah.
How do they get a day?
Not sure.
No.
Not our dispensaries. I don't know.
The one in Cotati said they get 800 to 1,200 a day.
Really?
Mhm.
In Cotati?
1,200 on the weekends and 800. And
Well, that's what you're gonna need to support.
I have a hard time believing that. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I have a hard time believing that number. Just to be honest with you. I mean, maybe it's true,
Their
but
facilities stated when they were asked, as staff there, said between 1 to 900 a day, but it varied a lot. When the Cotati place, 3 different staff members said, yeah, anywhere 800 to 1,200 depending on the weekend, and then some members of the community observed people going in and out of that one, and observed about 20 every 15 minutes or so. And so that's why the numbers seem a lot higher than what you're
Yeah.
predicting of 144 a day.
yeah.
So not, and no one's against having like a successful business come, but just want to make sure that the number is, and your traffic studies and all this, and your parking is consistent with a realistic number.
Mhm.
So to do all this for 144 people a day, just seems to just not mesh with, you know, I mean, per capita, Berkeley has more dispensaries than Marin's gonna have, and so,
Yeah, right, countywide, right,
so how, I just, 144 seems really
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's not our peak number, you know, I mean, I could see, we're certainly
That's
building this
what it's
facility to have more capacity, and, but, you know, I have a hard time believing that somebody in Cotati seeing 800 people in a day, I mean, it's, good for them, but, geez, that's a lot. You know, I don't know, it's,
Take my word for it.
it's definitely hard for us to predict exactly what this, traffic will be, but, you know, we certainly don't anticipate that kind of volume.
Sabrina, you had mentioned to me after last meeting, you thought that you guys would be doing a traffic study. Did you ever do one?
Yeah, we are reaching out to a bunch of different traffic engineers. Fair and planning, I think, is one of them. There was one that conducted, there's a company in Walnut Creek that conducted a traffic impact study for a marijuana dispensary that I've been in touch with. And it's just a matter of coordinating contracts and getting them,
Do you anticipate that being done by the time the public hearings happen?
yes.
What recourse do we have if all of a sudden they're getting 1,000 a day?
No,
No recourse.
zero.
Well, I know it's being, right, the county said they're going to review every, 2 years?
Yeah,
Is
they're
it?
2-year review.
Of how it's functioning.
But if they're doing great and have a lot of customers,
Pay a lot of
what's
taxes.
yeah.
But I guess if there's a.
I'm sorry, with, on Prop 64, I know that's not, it is your business, okay? Am I correct in thinking that they're gonna basically, anybody with a delivery service, which we have numerous in this area right now, are gonna have to either shut down or affiliate with someone like yourself?
They'll have to shut down, I would think, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say shut down or affiliate, but you are correct in that you can't just have an unlicensed delivery service that it doesn't.
Well, they're licensed now.
That's not
No,
possible.
there's actually no
There's no
licensing.
licenses being issued.
So something that, I mean, these guys are the pros and what's happened and in the development of medical marijuana and where it's been, but something that kind of struck me is just something to compare to is medical marijuana was passed in 1996, and we're now 20 years later talking about opening a medical dispensary here in Marin. Tuesday, recreational marijuana was passed. It's not gonna be tomorrow, it's not gonna be next week, it's not gonna be next month, likely won't be next year, whatever. It's gonna take a lot of time. And anybody that wants to get into the recreational side of marijuana, all of the laws and the details need to trickle down in place. Each county individually in California has to decide how they're gonna approach that. It's gonna take some time. So I think it's important to kind of isolate Prop 64, which is something that has happened and something to keep an eye on for everybody, but what we're talking about right now is a medical marijuana dispensary that was legalized 20 years ago. It's taken Marin 20 years of observing other counties, other states, and watching, learning from their mistakes and deciding that, you know, the county wants to do this as well. And they've opened up very small sections of the county where we were able to kind of search for properties, and through the strenuous searching process, we've come across this, and that's where we stand now. And I understand, you know, it upsets and you know, brings a lot of anxiety to what's going on in your community, and I can totally understand that. And I think that there's a lot to be learned. You know, it's you fear the unknown a little bit, and so I want to, again,
Well, I would like to comment, but I think maybe you had your hand up first.
Minor point and then a question. 12 visitors per hour. If I'm standing on Harbor Drive, that's 24 vehicle trips. Everyone who comes goes, so it's 24, not 12. Back to property values. I would really love to see this come and improve the value of my property. Let me take kind of a different view. My house goes for sale. Every person who drives to visit my house will pass this facility. So they'll know that there's medical. It brings my question. I I don't see on these pictures any signs that say what the facility is.